Hey everyone, I'm Nick.
And I'm Ray, and today we're going to be doing a tier list again. Today, however, we're doing it on World of Warcraft. A little bit of background on this. I've been playing World of Warcraft since around 2008. Wrath of the Lich King, however, I have played the current Classic and TBC Classic. It may not be the original experience, but I still, have experience with it as well. And Nick, when did you start playing World of Warcraft?
So I've been playing since about 2007. I started 3 months after the Burning Crusade released.
Yeah, it's a great game. Some of the expansions, as you see where they're going to be ranked, are not my favorites.
Not great.
But honestly, overall, I enjoy playing in just about any expansion in most capacities. And it's just a fun game. I'm tied to it. My character's damn near 14 years old. So,
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yes, I do. I still jump on the TBC, just level a character for a little bit whenever I'm bored. So
Yeah. So with that, we're just going to start at the beginning, go through them.
the only non-expansion, huh?
Yeah, the base game.
The base game.
Yeah.
Which I would say it kind of has to be ranked as S tier, right?
Base
It's
game
not
S tier?
actually. I would say so.
Now, is that for current gameplay or just because of what it was?
Yeah, so I'm not looking at these earlier expansions. I'm not looking at them comparative to games nowadays because obviously it's not going to be the same. So for its time, in my opinion, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. It's like, okay, this game released, this MMORPG released in, what was it, 2004?
Yeah.
It was just kind of groundbreaking. And anyone who's watching this is probably a fan of World of Warcraft. Anyone who's watching this is probably a fan of World of Warcraft and knows Blizzard likes to take things, right? So Blizzard steals ideas from other games and makes them really great. And they did it here, or in the vanilla expansion. In the vanilla game, I should say.
Yeah. The games that were out at the time was what, EverQuest? That's all I can really remember. But all I was playing at the time was like, your Final Fantasies, and I got grounded from those because I wasn't doing any of my homework in school and instead playing those.
Yeah. Like we both mentioned, neither of us played the original game when it was out. But from the classic experience, while it was a totally different way of playing, as the player base played, while it was totally different, it was still, like, you could still see how cool it was for the time, right? The loot system, the talent system, the dungeons, the many raids. It was really good, in my opinion.
So S tier.
That's where I would put it. If
Okay.
you don't think so, let me know.
So that's the thing. So for what it was, yeah, S tier. The game came out and it was sensational. Like, honestly, South Park made an episode on it.
Yes.
It really was sensational. It's just,
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to put in classic World of Warcraft, right? I had a blast. I don't know how much you played the classic. I had so much fun with that. And I know a lot of people. There was a ton of people who played that. So
I'll say this. I hate leveling.
okay. So you didn't like it.
I didn't dislike it. It was a lot of fun. It's just I decided to play Ret Paladin, which is throw up a seal and you auto attack. Yeah, bad choice.
Bad choice.
But no, for what it was, and for even how much everyone enjoyed it, I'll concede and give this one an S tier. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, and I would rank it more accurately if I played in-game content on it, and I did not. So therefore, it'll be where you're placing it, because you did play in-game content. I didn't. So, but for what it was, it brought the game World of Warcraft to me. So yeah. S tier, sure.
Yeah, and to me that's the main reason, right? Because it was above everyone else of its time, and it was fantastic for the time. I guarantee you, if we both played it back then, we would have been fine with the leveling, and we would have leveled to max and played because it was kind of revolutionary.
Yeah. Also, now that I've played WoW for so long, I think the big thing is I've leveled so many times, so many different characters. I just don't want to anymore. But like when I first started playing, I mean, I was, doing the long haul leveling anyways, and I didn't think anything of it until I started getting into raiding and just competitive scenarios, and then I was like, oh, this leveling part's boring, but it was fun at first. So yeah, you know what, S tier, classic WoW, sure, yeah, that's fair.
Yes. Now, all right, the Burning Crusade. This is the expansion I started in, and I started fairly close to launch, 3 months afterwards, and for the time, people were a lot slower back then, so I honestly did not miss a whole lot by starting 3 months late.
Yeah, I mean, look how long it took for them to kill Kael'thas and even finish Black Temple, So, I mean, yeah, it's people, World of Warcraft today, it's a lot more fast-paced, especially with, like, the world first raids, which is just completely nuts now. I mean, with how much gold is spent, like, in, like, real time and money, it's crazy. But,
Yeah, and that's, I mean, esports was not a thing back then. So
yeah.
Everyone was playing, even though there was a competitive aspect to it, everyone was playing to play a game. It was just leisure time, No one was trying to do it professionally.
Yeah. So BC, big changes. Leveling was a little bit quicker, I think.
It was like 20% quicker, I want to say, which is kind of substantial. And not only that, it was a lot smoother. They added a lot of quests in, especially Old World Azeroth, that just made going from zone to zone easier. A lot of the empty areas just got more quests, so it was just a better leveling experience than vanilla.
Yeah, you wouldn't get to level 58, run out of quests, and then have to grind mobs.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is, I think, a huge improvement to the base game. The dungeons were difficult at the time, and the raids were too. And everybody I know who's played TBC, like when it was out, it's their favorite expansion.
Yeah.
So I think I know where this one's going.
For me, I would put it in S tier. Yeah, it's got smoother leveling. The talent, a lot of the classes, what they were missing in vanilla WoW, they got in TBC.
Yeah.
For instance, paladins. Paladins were, especially Ret, was terrible in vanilla WoW, and in TBC, while they still weren't great, they got a lot of the stuff to make them viable. So same with druids, right? Boomkin form. A lot of improvements happened to this. The raids as well. The raids there was a few duds, but overall, I think the raids were extremely well. Like Mount Hyjal was just a terrible raid in my opinion.
Wave-based combat. What are you talking about? That's the best.
If you don't think Mount Hyjal is a terrible raid, you're weird. Just gonna say.
So with that, let's hone in on some of the specifics here for you. So questing, what's better, classic or BC?
For me, BC.
Okay.
TBC. I really enjoy all the zones. I enjoy Outlands. Yeah,
now,
but I mean, I'm totally biased to this one because I did start in it and I have so many fun memories of it.
Now, class balance and class design between the two, where do you think it was better?
I would imagine TBC is better just because Blizzard was able to learn from a lot of their mistakes and a lot of the things they left out in vanilla. Like I said, a lot of the things that classes and certain specs were missing got added in TBC to make it better. And I'm a little bit biased as well on this because during TBC I played a hunter. So I was kind of an overpowered DPS anyway. Up until
one button macro.
I was only 11 at the time, so I didn't know about that, and it wasn't easy to just Google things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of, but still, I was just too young to realize. But even without having the one button macro, I still topped DPS charts in my guild when we were raiding.
Yeah. Now with that, so BC. Dungeons, classic, or BC? Just dungeons, not raids.
So here's the thing as well, is I'm gonna look at the end game dungeons, right? Because the thing with TBC is, if you're leveling from 1 to 70, you're still doing all those earlier dungeons if you're leveling with the group. So I'm gonna go with TBC for end game, right? Because end game.
I mean, it makes sense. Dungeon design should get better by expansion, right? It makes sense. So overall, TBC's the better classic.
It was such a fantastic expansion on top of the base game.
Yes.
Like I said, the base game is not an expansion. And it was groundbreaking and great. And I think TBC was a fantastic first expansion for it.
We're going to add a list. And this will be GOAT. Because...
First.
Yeah. All right. So we'll just leave that out of the equation. And for expansions now, S tier. Right?
Okay. I'm
BC.
fine with
Is that fair?
Yeah. Like I said, I'm kind of biased in this one because I have so many great memories of it. But I mean, I love this expansion. I think it's so much fun. I wish I had more time now to be able to play it while it's in its classic form. Yeah. I wish. Now, Wrath of the Lich King, which both of us played.
Yes. Now, for me, this is the one where I'm most heavily biased. This is when I started playing. I got it for Christmas 2008.
Nice.
And I was playing on a Mac at the time. And I started leveling. It was a lot of fun. I didn't know anything about the game. And my dad was playing too at the time. And my dad got to level 70 first on a druid. And then I had made a rogue, got him to level 29. I had made a paladin, got him to level 50. And then I was like, yeah. And then DK's released with Wrath of the Lich King, right? So with let me.
But what'd you have to get? You had to get to level 55 to unlock DK, correct?
Exactly, and because my dad had made it to level 70, I was like, oh hey.
So you guys shared accounts at this point?
Yeah. I was.
Got it.
I was young. I couldn't.
Yeah, of course.
Play the game, and I have money, so I made a Death Knight. My first level 80, I made it to. So level 80. My bad. My dad got to level 80 first. And I joined your guys' guild. Good old TPL shout out. And I remember the first raid I had made it to. By the time I hit level 80, because I was a slow leveler, I had school going on and sports and whatnot. Ulduar, that was the first raid TPL brought me to. And I remember a polearm dropped, and it was an agility polearm. Yeah. And they gave it to me because no one else needed it. And I had a little blue weapon at the time, a little 200 eye level. So I was using an agility polearm as Blood Death Knight DPS. I was just really bad at the game. But by the time we got to TOC, I'd gotten a lot better. I started reading guides and researching. And then by ICC, I was playing Boomkin the most. Me and my dad were just playing that account. We got into this really good guild on a different server.
I'm reporting you for account sharing.
And we were doing heroic ICC. And that was the start of my, heroic rating, which was just a blast. I remember Blood Queen Lanathol and heroic. It was so much fun. And that's when I started try-harding at the game, I guess you could say. That's when I started becoming an elitist jerk. I was using that website a lot. They had a lot of guides back then. Shout out to Ian Hasakostas, former guild master. But yeah, no, for me, ICC, I mean, the zones were beautiful. The story was, phenomenal. The class balance was great. A lot of classes were viable. Yeah, there's still some that weren't.
I was about to say.
And DKs were completely overpowered, sure.
Yes.
But compared to TBC and Classic, I know the class balancing had gotten a lot better. So there were a lot more classes that were viable. There were still broken classes, sure. But the dungeon design was fun. It was hard for me. Apparently, it was easy for TBC veterans, right? I'm a Wrath baby. But I was new to the game. And for me, overall, just altogether, I think Wrath of the Lich King, personally, is the best expansion World of Warcraft has had. Mind you, that's with no TBC experience.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of take
I
a
put
step
S tier.
back because you went through a lot here. First off, on release, I want to say the leveling. I remember taking the step off that boat from Stormwind into Borean Tundra and just starting questing with my dad. It was, yeah, I remember that, and it was so much fun.
Nothing boring about boring.
Yeah, but the questing zones as well were just really cool. I super enjoyed all of the quests, all of the zones, all the themes of all the zones. It was just really cool.
150% flying mount speed.
Yeah, going up from the terrible 60% for all of us broke people back then that couldn't afford the 5K gold. Me too. I played since BC and I hadn't got it either.
Yeah.
Some issues on release for end game content though. On release, the only there was 3 raids: Vault of Archivon, 1 boss;
Yep.
Eye of Eternity, 1 boss;
Yep.
Obsidian Sanctum, I think technically 2 bosses, but it was like a soft 2 bosses, 1 really.
Yeah, it was the one boss and the 3 mini bosses.
Yeah, so it was like a soft 2 boss raid, and then Naxxramas, which was just a re-release with completely nerfed content.
Yeah. I wouldn't say nerfed. That's the thing. I think this is, and especially in hindsight, I mean, look at Naxxramas on release in Classic. It was cleared in like 2 hours, right?
Sure.
Once they stepped foot in it. I think people had just gotten much, much better at playing World of Warcraft. That Naxxramas was a joke because everyone already had access to the spells, abilities. They already knew the strats to use, right? So I think that's a big reason Nax was easier.
I'll half agree with that. I definitely do think that people I know obviously the player base had gotten better, but I know Blizzard also nerfed the content in relation to what it was.
They undertuned
Right.
it for sure, but
Right.
I think the biggest part of it was just knowledge of the raid beforehand and then player skill.
But sure, so with Naxxramas, all that just to say, I think that the rating content at the beginning was very underwhelming. But then we got Ulduar. Ulduar is fantastic. It's one of the best raids. It is so good.
Thematically, a lot of boss design. And this was the introduction of hard mode / heroic, right?
Yeah. Yes,
Not
I wouldn't
heroic,
even
but it
call
was
it
hard
heroic. It was hard mode, yeah. So you could activate the hard mode bosses. It was so good. Then TOC, which was a big old dud.
Note on TOC, and I'll say this in defense of TOC, right? We had gotten this massive Ulduar raid, which was fucking phenomenal. A lot of trash, long raid. And the big thing was Yogg Zero, so Yogg Saron Zero Keepers, was incredibly difficult. That was the hardest fight Blizzard had made up to this point.
Sure.
And they were preparing ICC, which is fucking a ridiculous raid. So for TOC coming after Ulduar and being before ICC, yeah, it's a dud compared. But I did like, personally, no trash. I loved it.
Sure. Okay. That I think that it was Blizzard biting off more than they could chew. Cause yeah, as you said, they had Ulduar, big, great raid. They had ICC, big raid, also really good. Not as good as Ulduar in my opinion, but I think it was just too much for them at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. TOC, it was just a means for loot, I think.
Also, this is TOC, the introduction of heroic versus non-heroic raids.
Yeah.
And the balancing therein.
Yeah, TOC, I think, was it the first heroic, right?
It was, and there was a 50 pool limit per week you could do.
Yeah. So this was the first time that they had put 4 difficulties in a raid, right? 10-man normal, 10-man heroic, 25-man normal, 25-man heroic.
And then the loot to balance out between it all. Yeah, that must have been a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was just, I feel like the expansion may have been even better if they just put that time for TOC into ICC.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Or just put it, I don't know. This is all speculation. But
yeah. I mean, for a filler raid, it's a filler raid, straight up.
Sure.
You know.
I will give it this though. I thought the what are they called? The outside of TOC, that whole area,
The Argent Crusade.
the Argent tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Argent tournament. I thought that was cool. That was fun.
Fun dailies.
Yeah, and then also Wintergrasp. I thought I was a huge PvPer back then, and I thought Wintergrasp was extremely fun. The first kind of open world intentional PvP zone. It was just really fun.
With rewards tied to it to
Yeah.
actually try, so you could
With
raid.
rewards tied to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was a good idea, and it was fun for PvPers like myself.
But overall,
So
and
you
then ICC. Yeah, go ICC.
yeah, ICC, it was really fun. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun in ICC.
Yeah.
You put this one in S tier. I would personally put it in A, but I'm fine with it going in S.
That's fair. That's fair. I think the only issue with Wrath of the Lich King was that the content was undertuned for the player base, and I think that was Blizzard not giving enough credit to the players. And then in our next expansion, Blizzard went ahead and fixed that, and the player base said it's too hard. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, there's always
Cataclysm.
going to be people who don't like things that the game does.
Yeah.
Cataclysm. I'm just going to say it right out. I really enjoyed Cataclysm. I thought it was a lot of fun. Looking back
enjoyed
at
it
it, and yeah,
there was
So-
one raid I did not like, and I only disliked half the raid.
which one is that?
Dragon Soul.
Dragon Soul. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. It's not as good as a lot of raids, but I still had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
You're right. Half of it wasn't fun. Half of it was.
Yeah. Which, it's just, look, honestly, Dragon Soul, probably one of the worst end game raids. However, the rest of the expansion I thought was a lot of fun. And the new quest zones, the redoing the world, I think was a success.
I do want to say this, and maybe this is just me misremembering. I like the remaking of a lot of zones, right? This revamping of Azeroth, of the old world. But I remember it being quite underwhelming. Whenever the release of Cataclysm was announced and they were showing things, I feel like everyone thought it was going to be a lot more than it was.
Yeah.
But with that,
Where would you put Kata?
I would put Kata in high. I would put it at the top of A tier, right? Well, nothing's in A tier right now. Yeah, I would put it in A. I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed Firelands. Firelands was a fun raid. Tol Barad, like I had mentioned, I was a PvPer. Tol Barad was really fun. It was just another Wintergrasp. It wasn't unique, but I liked it. It was fun.
There was only
had-
one downside, I think, in Cataclysm for me, and that was, honestly, it just would have to be Dragon Soul, just the end raid. I thought all the other raids were fun. Heroic Sinestra was dope, but Dragon Soul, if you don't consider Dragon Soul with it, I would. I think A tier, yeah, I could see it there.
And there was enough not good that I would be fine with it in beer. I would be fine with it in B tier, but yeah, I would put it in A personally.
Yeah. Now this next expansion, right? Miss of Pandaria, April 1st. The launch trailer releases for Miss of Pandaria.
Was it on April 1st?
It was. We see
That's hilarious.
Pandas. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, good April Fool's joke." They went all out on it this year, and then Blizzard was like, "Oh, it's not."
It's not.
And everyone was upset. But Miss of Pandaria, god damn that raid. Not raid. That class design, class balancing was fun. Classes were so fun to play in MoP.
Yes. In MoP, Mr. Pandaria was a meme. Everyone was so disappointed that pandas were coming out. Everyone was disappointed that they didn't get Jack Black to do some of the voicing in the expansion release trailer, right? But yeah, I had a lot of fun in this one as well, and I enjoyed it.
I say MoP goes straight A tier.
Really? Okay, that's fine. I would put it in B. I was putting it below Kato myself, but it was still fun. So I'm totally
See, I put this above Kata personally,
Okay.
and the big reason why is how fun the classes were, and then how good the raids were. All of the raids were really good in Mists of Pandaria. Reputation farming wasn't bad. The zones were beautiful. It
Now there,
was a great
I
expansion.
and I'm fine with that. I think you might be right. I could go with the above. I honestly I could switch the spots. I could put Mist of Pandaria in A, and then for me, because like I said, I had put Mop in B, and I could put Kata in B,
Okay.
or just low A. It doesn't matter. But the only raids I didn't really enjoy were Heart of Fear and Terrace of the Endless Spring. Those two just didn't really click for me at the time. But aside from
Kinda
that,
like
you know, there
bugs.
was yeah, it just Throne of Thunder, however, though, and what was it, Isle of Thunder, right? That was the island's name. Those were fantastic zones.
Yeah. And then the Timeless Isle fucking was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great.
There was one issue plaguing Mop, and that was that Siege of Orgrimmar was dragging on so long for the next expansion. But as a whole, you know, if you cut out that end content drought, the content that was released was fucking ridiculously good.
Yeah, it was really good. I had a lot of fun with it. PvP was great in this one. We got to do Farmville, right? They came out with a little farming area for you.
Yeah.
Whenever Farmville was extremely popular at
Yeah.
the time. So yeah, I thought it was a good expansion. I had a lot of fun.
Now, onto an expansion that I don't like.
I don't think anyone likes this one. This one was a complete dud.
Warlords
So much-
of Draenor.
So much potential, so many promises broken by Blizzard. Just complete. This was the first expansion with a giant content drought, right? It just on release it was fine, it was good, but after release it took forever for anything to get established in the game, and it just it was. I would put it at D. I'm putting it as D tier.
Overall, I agree at D tier. However, the raids were some of the best raids ever. They
Yeah,
were
but-
fun as fuck. And Grimrill
Sure.
Depot was great. Aside from
Sure.
that, expansion sucks.
There were extremely good raids, but I mean, what was there like? Similar to the latest one, they just went over a year, like a year and a half, with no new content.
Yeah.
And so when the last raid had come out, no one was playing. And the people who were playing, sure, they probably had a great time with the last raid, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. So overall, as a whole, I'd agree at D tier for this.
Yeah.
I think personally, it's WoW's worst expansion.
Yeah, and like I said, there was just so many promises in the right in their BlizzCon stuff that never came to fruition.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just no good.
So that's a quick, easy one. Legion. This is the expansion I did not get to play as much as I would have liked. I was deployed a lot during the time.
Me too. So yeah, this one was actually a good expansion though. I played the beginning and I played the end of the expansion, and I only came back to get my reputations up to get allied races.
What I remember about Legion, it was a lot of fun. The zones were a lot of fun. Suramar was great. I remember leveling there and I loved it. The zones were great. The classes were fun to play. I was playing my rogue at the time. And, the raids as a whole, I'm pretty sure were really good too, aside from like a onesie or twosie. And the dungeons were good too, except for like a onesie or twosie. And everyone enjoyed the Legion weapon system, the artifact system.
Artifacts were very fun at the time. But we now know that, borrowed power systems were not such a great idea.
It's like cocaine. You do it once and it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
When you do
it's
it
great
again,
the
you're
first time.
addicted and you hate it and
Exactly.
your life sucks. Yeah.
Exactly. Nothing's ever as good as the first time.
Exactly.
So yeah, Legion was really great with its borrowed power system, but it was also borrowed power. The raids were fun that I got to play. Like I said, you were deployed. I think I got deployed on this expansion as well. So we both didn't play a big chunk of it.
I'm dropping it here.
Okay, that's fine. I would have put it in A tier, I think.
Above Cata?
No.
See, I don't put it above
Yeah.
Cata, so therefore
No,
B.
that's fine then. That's fine. I like it. I like where it's at. It's
Now,
below Cata, but I don't think it was a bad expansion. I think this one is actually a good expansion, especially coming from Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah.
So that bumps it up a few points.
Yeah.
Since WoD was so terrible.
So B is just a good expansion. A is a great expansion. S is the best expansion. C is a not good expansion. D is the worst expansion, right? So I think Legion sits there, and we're probably going to get flack for this because I'm pretty sure most people rate Legion above Cata, but it's our tier list. This is what we decide.
Yeah, like I said, I had a lot of fun in Cata. Maybe if I had more time in Legion, I would have put it higher, but unfortunately, I did not.
Yep, same. And honestly, I mean, Legion, the borrowed power really started ramping up there, right? Especially with the legendaries, right? But aside from that, good expansion. I don't have that much to say on it because I didn't play it that much. So, yeah, I think I put it under Cata.
That's fine. It was a fun expansion. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Now, beta for Azerite.
Yes. BFA was not good.
Twins. Azeroth wins.
Yeah. This is where we just keep going with the cocaine, right? The borrowed power system again. They take away our Legion weapon and they give us this terrible neck, and it's just not as fun. It's not as good. We're starting from zero and doing the same exact thing again.
So the issue with BFA, in my opinion, is all the classes got gutted because they lost the artifacts, and there wasn't enough Azerite gear, and we didn't have the neck, whatever it was, whatever they were called in there, the let's call it conduits. I don't remember. We didn't have those in there, and the Azerite gear, was only given the 2 rings instead of 3 or 4. So there was just a big power. A lot of classes felt completely gutted and slow, and by the end of the expansion, classes were fun. Once corruption gear was fun. It's not healthy for the game. It was fun though. By the end of the expansion, sure, but 75%, 60% of that expansion was fucking dog shit.
And I'll tell you, I didn't play with corruption gear because I was so bored with the expansion. I had quit after what was the raid after Old Year?
Battle for Dazar'alor.
So I quit like towards the end of that raid. I'll tell you, in the beginning I did have fun. I like Old Year was fun. I liked that Battle for Dazar'alor. It was fun. But towards the end, it was just boring. The constant grinding constant need to grind for Azerite power. Yep. It's not a fun system. It was not fun. I quit because of boredom and didn't come back for the corruption gear to have fun with it. So
The big issue was the catch-up mechanics. There was none. So if you were behind on your Azerite necklace, you were fucking behind. You had to grind so much, and they lessened it, but there was still so much to grind. And corruption gear was fun if you got the corruption gear, the right one. And
this is what I think is a big issue with the borrowed power as well. I don't know that there should be catch-up mechanics like that to kind of negate like people who have played from the beginning, and if I come in 3/4 of the way through the expansion and I'm on the same level as people who have played from the very beginning, I don't know that should be a thing. But because borrowed power keeps starting over, and it lends to a bad time because it needs a catch-up mechanic for everyone, which it's just not good.
Yeah.
I see you put it at D tier. I think I would put it at, I'm fine with D tier. I think I might even put it at C. I would agree with that. I might even put it at C tier, where it's just a bad expansion and not of the worst expansions, but that's fine.
The only reason I'm putting it at D right now is because of Shadowlands, which is an expansion that I went the hardest on. So Shadowlands, I think personally, is the C tier. And yeah, I could see BFA below it. I do think Shadowlands is better than BFA. However, here's the issue with Shadowlands, right? So they finally fixed a lot of the issues that happened, but it took Blizzard losing like so many of their World of Warcraft subscriptions, right? And then all those allegations and it took so much for, I feel like, the Blizzard developers to finally be allowed to be good for the game instead of Bobby Kotick. And I might be wrong here, this is speculation, but Bobby Kotick, you know, who says, I'm going to fire a bunch of employees and get a $200 million bonus, right? Because right? Fuck that guy. Which I get it, but still, the Covenant idea right now that's implemented is great. It's how it should have been from the start. If the game is like it is now, and it was at the start, or even like 9.0.5, it would have been awesome. However, it wasn't, right? And BFA had that same issue. The difference is, Covenants were still fun. Right? I was playing Boomkin, and I got Convoke. I had my button. I press a button, and big go boom, right? Sure. It was so much fun to play. And raiding in Mythic, Castle Nathria, Mythic, I mean, there were some fun boss fights on it. There were some shit ones, but it was a fun raid overall.
Let me say, in my opinion, I'm switching Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands, and I'm putting Shadowlands in D tier. You don't have to switch it on yours. I'm just saying that's where I would put it. And having this be the latest expansion so far, or the latest expansion, I'll put my list up on the screen as well, just to kind of give an idea of where we differ.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shadowlands, I would put it above Warlords of Draenor. I had fun in the beginning of Shadowlands. I had fun raiding through Castle Denathria. I made some decisions in raiding that lent to me not having a very good time after a while, but the content drought of Shadowlands was just so long. I understand that the game is a lot more fun now.
Yeah,
I can't get back into it. I mean, you saw me log in the other day. Yeah. That's the first time I logged in like a year and a half, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
and so I logged off, and I was like, I don't feel like trying. It's just. So Blizzard really messed up. I think this could have had a good expansion, or this could have been a good expansion, but the huge amount of content drought, all of their allegations, all of their things that they went through, it made it bad. Yeah. And I would put this in D tier, but not the worst. I would put it above Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah, which is kind of shitty for WoD, because like a big part of it too was this was developed during the pandemic, which meant they had less employees at office. Working hours were a little bit more fucked. Everyone was figuring it out, right? So, like, the developers did have an uphill battle, and I'll give them that.
I'm not going to cut them any slack. I don't care. I don't care about the pandemic. They screwed this one up. It could have been better, and they fucked up.
They did, and I think if they just had listened to the player feedback earlier, it would have been fine. And so my big reasoning, I would put this above BFA personally, is I don't have an issue with any of the dungeons. I think the dungeons are good. I think the Mythic Plus affixes are good. I think the endgame content is incredible, this expansion. And barring PvP right now, class balance in PvE is probably the best it's ever been. Everything's super close. I mean, obviously, there's still going to be specs that are better than others, especially in situational moments. But Boomkin was just fun to play. Rogues are fun to play. Blood Decay is fun. All the classes I've played, all the specs I've played, is incredibly fun. It's just, yes, the content drought issue that arose, and that's why I can't put it above C. If this had a condensed schedule, like if we're reviewing Shadowlands as it is now, and there was content releasing and just like the state of classes, I would put this way higher. But
I agree. If they had released this 6 months ago, or 6 months prior to where they actually released all the newest content, it'd be a different story.
Yep.
I think it would have required a little more time than 6 months, like 9 to 8 months probably would have been more realistic to make it good. But yeah, from where it was released, a lot of the player base, myself being included, I can't get back into it to be able to enjoy it. There's just too much to do now. It could have been good. Maybe it's good now. And you say it is. I'll take your word for it. I just don't want to do it, and I don't think it's a good one because of it.
I think that's the big issue with this, with really the past 3 expansions, is once you get behind it, there's way so much to do. Like you have to do the Korthia if you want to. You don't have to do it now, and they made it alt friendly finally. However, before 9.2, it was you were climbing Everest to catch back up, and in a non-fun way.
Yes, there's too many systems.
Yeah.
That you have to keep track of, right? I don't know. I don't care. I have a legendary on my druid, for instance. Aren't they up to 2 legendaries now? I'm not going to go try to figure it out. I'm not going to figure out which one's my other bis. I'm not going to go grind the stuff required to get that new legendary. I'm not going to go do the new raid. I don't want to go to a new zone and quest. It's just, there's too much.
I mean, I'm doing, high level keys. I'm running 20s and above, which 20 is high level, but it's not crazy high level, right? I'm not running those 24s like those super nerds out there in the 30s, right? But even still, like, there are some stuff I still am not doing that I should be doing, as trying to do in-game content, like getting my reputation up for the Enlightened. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I hate reputation grinding, so I'm just not. I'm fine with the 265 belt. And I'll just get it over time. But yeah, with that, so if you're going to throw your list on the screen, let me just rearrange this for my list real quick, and we can throw it up there.
I'll have put my list up by now, and then once you're done, I'll take it down.
Yeah. So personally, this is how I would list it. Really, the big swap here is BC and Lich King, personally. And then BFA, yeah. This is how my list would be as a whole.
And I'll tell you what, you convinced me to put Cataclysm in B. I switched my Mist and my Cataclysm because I had Mist being below Cata, and you convinced me to switch it. So
Mist was just fun, and it was easy to grind rep, man. Like, you just fucking click a little rep you want to grind on, and you do dungeons and raids, and you get the fucking rep for it. Like, why'd they get rid of that, dude?
True.
And hopefully with the next expansion, it seems like Blizzard's trying to listen more, and now that they have Daddy Microsoft, right? Yeah. They might be able to do good stuff for the game, and that's all I want personally.
Every time a new expansion is dropped, it is always, every single expansion is always fun in the beginning because it's new.
Yep.
So as long I'm expecting the expansion, what is it? Dragonflight, right?
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be fun. As long as they can keep that going, I will be happy. If they can't keep it going, and if it happens another WoD or Shadowlands, I mean,
I think that's. I don't think Blizzard can afford another.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If they do, they probably have lost me as a customer, and I know they've probably lost a whole bunch of people already. So again, I know the expansion is going to be fun in the beginning. I hope they can keep it going after that and not give us a huge content drought again. So
yeah. Yep, same. I mean, not every raid has to be Ulduar epic, You don't have to spend 9 months for an Ulduar. Give us a raid in 4 months. 2 raids in 4 months feels better than one long content period. You know? And Ulduars are great if you can churn those out, do it.
Sure.
But if you got to release a couple filler shits, and even if they're duds, I mean, shit, that's still more content for people to do that's new. And with that, I mean, that's the end of the tier list. So mine will be on the screen up over here somewhere, and then Nick will put his up next to it. Leave a comment down below where you think the expansion should be. I know we're probably going to get flack for the Cataclysm above Legion. I will tell you that now. But
whatever.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So with that, any final closing thoughts?
No, thanks for watching.
Ray out.